Good morning, everyone. As you are rolling in for this awesome session on MiSchoolData, if you would, go ahead and introduce yourselves in the chat. It's always great to see who's with us. And if you have something that you're hoping to learn today, you could add that. That would be great. Going to get started in just a minute. Thanks for being with us, Jeff. Jeff is an MASSP board member. He's a middle school principal at East Grand Rapids Middle School. Another member of the CEPI team, Casey, joining us this morning. Hey, Mr. Carlson, good to see one of our past presidents and a principal of the year joining us this morning from Huron ISD. Good morning, Madam President. Jolyn Clark, MASSP's current president, and also a former principal of the year joining us this morning. Great to have you with us, Sarah from Fulton. Hey, Michael Leiter, another MASSP board member on this morning. Great to have you with us. Oh, I see we've got friends from Woodworth Middle School, also one of our board members' schools. So great to have you with us as well. Oh, I see our Jennison Innovation Academy principal is with us. Great to have all of you with us this morning. I don't want to lose any of our time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I reached out to the MiSchoolData team, I don't know, probably a couple of months ago, and just said, hey, you know, I just need a refresher on what's in the portal. It's been a minute since I've been in there. And then since then, I got really excited about some of the reports and things I saw. And I thought, man, I hope principals are looking at this. And in conversation with people as I travel around the state and meet with principals, I realized that we've kind of drifted a little bit from going into the MiSchoolData portal. And from what I hear from people, there's a couple of reasons for that potentially. One reason is that, you know, our school improvement shifted from being building-based to district-based. And when that happened, principals, you know, weren't going in to grab data for creation of reports and setting goals and things. And then another thing that's happened is during the transition in our evaluation system from being so heavily weighted on student achievement on the state assessment, once again, people kind of have drifted a little bit from looking at their data. So we're hoping to revive that. And we hope that by showing you how to get back into MiSchoolData and what reports are available, you can see that it really is beyond test scores. Because when I talk to principals, a lot of concerns nowadays are achievement, of course, but always on attendance and also on how are our students doing in college. And, you know, we have declining enrollment. Where are our students going? So all of those types of things are included in MiSchoolData. And I'm really happy and appreciate the support that we have on today's webinar. Always have Ryan Casey with me, who's one of our directors at MASSP of digital learning and esports. And then they have the team from MiSchoolData with us today, so knowledgeable. Nick Armit is the leader of the team, and he does a fantastic job. He's super responsive. Cheryl Twitchell is with us this morning as well, and Mandy Glynn, who I've learned that Mandy is kind of the person that does a lot of the communication and outreach to the field. So excited to be able to connect with Mandy and hope to work with her in the future as well. So I'm going to turn the screen over to you guys. You already have your PowerPoint queued up. Will we be able to have these slides afterwards?
Yeah, I'm hoping to send them to you so that you can disseminate them, because the slide deck has screenshots of what we're going to be covering today, even though I'm doing a live demo. So I figure that'll be a handy reference. Yes. And there's links in there and all sorts of good resources. So it'll be a good resource to hang on to refer to later on.
Perfect. So everyone, you will also get a recording of this webinar, because I think this is one of those ones where you want to have both your monitors up. And as Mandy referenced, you could pull up the slides, you can watch her presentation again and get into the data yourself and walk through it. If everybody would roll their at the bottom of their screen, you'll see we have a chat feature and we have a Q&A feature. So the chat we've already been utilizing for introductions. That's a great place for you to just make a comment or share something. But in the Q&A, that's where you want to actually post questions that you'd like me to pose to Mandy as she goes through the presentation. She said she's got a couple of breakpoints, and during those, I will pose the questions that you put in the chat. All right, we're ready to roll, I think. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, good morning. Like Wendy said, my name is Mandy Glynn. I'm one of the portal analysts for the MiSchoolData portal CEPI team. And we're just going to go over a really kind of high-level introduction to the MiSchoolData portal. I'm going to show you a couple different reports and some of the features that you can find in there. As Wendy said, I have a couple of spots where I'll break for questions, and she can go ahead and ask those to me when you pose them in the chat. So let's get started. Okay, so the topics we're going to be covering today are navigation. I'm going to show you around and where to go to find the information that you need. I'm going to show you a whole bunch of report settings and features that you can kind of customize those reports and get that information you're really looking for. I'm going to show you how to download in a couple of different formats. So whether it's needing to put a visualization into a presentation or just having that data to create your own visualizations, we have several different options for you to do that. I'm going to be showing you the compare tool, which is where you can take up to 20 different locations and compare data across those locations. I'm going to show you the brand new report builder, which is a very cool tool to be able to create your own reports and with the data that you're really zeroing in on. And I'm going to also show you the report catalog, which is a kind of the unsung hero of MiSchoolData. It has all of our reports, what's in them, and a whole bunch of information. I'll show you all of that. Okay. So what is MiSchoolData? It's really the state of Michigan's official portal for education data. It's a public resource, and it's where all of that information that you have to send into the state about your schools, it goes. So we take that data, we house it securely, and then we show it to the public in a secure manner, of course. And that helps residents, educators, policymakers to really make those informed decisions about your students and the direction of where your schools have been and where your schools are going. It includes multiple levels of view. You can view data statewide. You can do the ISD level. You can go down to your district level or even down to your building level. And those data are presented in dashboards, graphs, charts, trend lines, and downloadable spreadsheets. We have two different levels of access. We have the public access for public users, so anybody can come on and see that. That includes cell suppression. So we want to protect your students. So groups, usually it's groups of less than 10. If a subgroup of students has less than 10, then that data is suppressed so that those students can't be identified. And there's no student level data. So you're not going to go be able to look up a specific student and their information with that public access. And then we have secure access, which is for educational personnel only. It's not open to just anybody who feels that they want it. And that also includes some additional reports that the public is not necessarily privy to. And there are unsuppressed data in that secure access. So if you are granted that access, if you are privy to that access, then you can see down to student level data for some reports. All right, so I figured instead of just showing slides of screenshots of the different reports, it would be much more effective to just do a live demo. Then you can see where my cursor is going and how I get to these certain places. So when you're looking for your data, you're going to go to www.mischooldata.org. And that, pull that over. is going to look like this. This is our home page. And if you look at the top, we have our top toolbar here with connections. Connections is going to be all of those applications that are related to MiSchoolData that your administrators enter that student data into. Then we have our education map. And if you go to the education map, you can bring up an entity or a location, either district or building, and you can see all sorts of information for that location. So there's some fast facts on there about some enrollment numbers. This is where you can see like that peer data. So your school or district compared to other schools by distance or by student characteristic. We also have our support button. This is a good resource for if you're not exactly sure about navigation or that sort of thing. There's a lot of different resources in that professional development toolkit. This is where our report calendar lives. So when you want to know when the latest data is coming out for your school's assessments, you might go there and then find out when that data has been posted. And I'll show you that too a little bit later. And then this is where our report catalog lives. And then you've got your sign in where if you have secure access, you can sign in here and then you can access the secured unsuppressed data. And down here we have kind of our navigation bar. It's broken up by groups of people you're looking for data for. So we have early childhood. So if you're looking for, that pre-K to third grade, there's some information in there about the programs that they're involved in. We've got K through 12th grade. That's going to show you all sorts of information about your K-12 students. The student subgroups will give you different reports for different demographic groups of students. So your English learners, it'll list some reports and information about your English learners. Post-secondary is where you're going to go to, check up on your students who are post-12th grade, who may be entering college, and some data about those students. And we'll be looking at a couple of those reports as well today. And then workforce, there's some information we have in there for annual wages by field of study, entry-level wages over time, some good information about people that go off into the world and work. We also have our search function here. So if you type in, let's say we typed in assessment, it'll bring up a lot of what we have on the portal regarding assessment and that sort of thing. So that's useful. I find now that, I kind of know how to navigate the site, that this navigation bar by, student group is the most, that's the most useful for me, but of course you'll find what's most useful for you. So we're going to go through a couple of examples of how I might find some information about a group of students. So for example, like example one, I'm looking to check in on my group of high school graduates. Like, how are they doing? Are they on track to graduate from college? So if I think about it, I'm thinking about a group of students who has already graduated. So I'm not going to look at my K-12. I'm going to go check out my post-secondary. And if I'm looking to see if they're on track for college, I see we have a couple secondary menus here, and that kind of breaks down that student group a little bit further. So we've got post-secondary reports by high school and by college and university, and then we've got college data files. Well, I'm looking for maybe my specific high school. So if I look here and click on post-secondary reports by high school, this is going to bring up all the reports that we have available in that subject. So if I'm looking for my group of graduates, and if they're on track to graduate from college, I see we have this report called On Track College Progress. And there's a nice little quick description of what the report entails. And this is to learn if college students are on track to graduate. It sounds like it's right up my alley for what I'm looking for. So if I click on that, it's going to bring up my report. And if you notice, we have this box up here. This is going to really direct what this visualization down here is going to show me. So we have location settings, to where I can narrow down on what entity I'm looking for. And if you can see for this, we have statewide available. We can look at an ISD level. We can go down to the district level, or we can even go down to the school level. And so you would just enter in what you would want to bring up to see that data. Over here, we have our report settings. So this is going to narrow down the groups of students I'm looking at. There might be grades in here. There are all sorts of different ways that we can narrow down our focus a little bit. So we've got our high school graduation year, and we have up to 21, 22, and you can see that it goes all the way back to 2007, 2008. So you can go back quite far in this. We have our college type. So if I'm looking by community colleges, or if I want to look at four-year colleges and universities, I can look by that. Time to complete 24 credits. If I want to do all years, I can select all years. If I want to do within 12 months. And then we've got report categories. So this is where you can break that down by race, ethnicity, or by gender, or by all of the different metrics that we have in here. And so when I go ahead and update that, and if I don't put anything in the location settings, it's going to default to statewide initially. So we're going to look at this statewide for right now. You always want to make sure you hit that update report button after you've changed the report settings, and that will go ahead and update our visualization. And if I look down here, it's set to snapshot right now, and that's going to give me that snapshot in that moment in time that I've chosen. So I chose 21-22 as my school year. So this is showing me data for 21-22. And it also shows you all of your report settings up here. So if you forget, like I do sometimes, you can see what you've already chosen. We also have in a lot of our reports that we can go from student count or percentage. So I can kind of toggle between the two. So if I want to see the percentage rather than the count, that's available. We have trend view available. So it'll give you that data over the last 10 years instead of just that one year that you've chosen. And then down here, we have our table that shows the data that we have in the visualization in numerical form. And we also have an entity breakdown. And what the entity breakdown will do is it will be all students. So if you've chosen like by gender, it does not break it down by gender. It's just all students, but it gives you a view of all the entities within the entity that you've chosen. So I've chosen statewide. This is going to list all of the ISDs, which is like the next entity down. If I had chosen a district, it would show me all the schools within that district. So that's what entity breakdown does for you right there. Well, let's say I had a question about this report. I didn't understand what a label meant or how the data were calculated. We have this really cool thing up here on almost every report. It's called About This Report. And if you click the down arrow, it's going to bring up all sorts of information about this report. We have 3 different tabs here. We've got our overview, which is going to give you basic overview of what the report has. Also, historical changes are in here. So if I know for like assessment, sometimes the method of assessment changes a little bit. That might make the data just kind of a little bit like, it might make it look different from one year to another. And it will show that in here, like this method of measurement changed, so it might change how the data looks, that sort of thing. We've got using this report, which is going to give you more specific data about this report, like this one shows you that the data are grouped into date ranges and why that, if a date range isn't available, why that occurs. So that gives you good information on what you're seeing in this specific report. And then we have about the data. So this is going to tell you where that data came from, which application that it was pulled from. It's going to tell you what kind of disclosure avoidance or suppression rules it might have on there. And report labels, it has a link for the glossary if you're confused about a report label or not quite sure what it means in this context. And then a lot of them also have those data calculations, like how these data were aggregated. All right, let's do another example. Let's see, say I want to see where my students in my high school are enrolling in college. Again, I'm going to look at that post-secondary because I'm looking at my groups of students that have already graduated. I'm looking by my information about my high school. And I want to see where they're enrolling. So their destination. If I go to college enrollment destination, it's going to bring up this report here. And I'm going to go ahead and look at an ISD. We're just going to pick Macomb ISD. And I do that because there's kind of a cool little setting that I'm going to show you in a little bit that's that I appreciate about the portal here. And I've got some report settings here. We've got high school graduation year. I can look at 22-23 because that's what we have available there. Let's say I want to look at four-year colleges and universities. I've got in-state or out-of-state. And sometimes it takes a little bit to come up because these are pulling from very large data sets. So sometimes they have to be a little patient with it. We'll look at both public and independent. We'll look at enrollment within 6 months. And then this one has initial enrollment or all college enrollments. And if I wondered what that meant, like what the difference was between them, I could go to the About This report and it tells me that the initial enrollment is like that very first college enrollment experience. All college enrollments includes like if they enroll somewhere else during their time in college. And again, I need to make sure I hit that update report button. And we've got a list of colleges that the Macomb ISD graduates are enrolling into. And this one shows that Oakland University is the most popular. And then we've got the kind of the top 10 here. And this one also has a snapshot. This one has a couple different other graphs too. So we could go to the high school graduation year trend. We could go to the enrollment within that trend. And then we also have what's called the Data Explorer. And that is a table where you can actually filter. So if I wanted to look at just like one college and there's a big long list and I don't want to scroll through it, I can type that in there and it'll bring it up. And or if I wanted to just look at the, number 10 ranked or, any kind of filters that you want to go ahead and apply that. And then it'll show you what those filters bring up. And again, that ATR explains more information about this particular report. Let's do another example. Let's look at the students in my ISD and their attendance. And so I'm thinking, okay, the students in my ISD are usually K through 12th grade. I'm going to go to my K-12 grade right here. And I see that we have school accountability, we have state testing, English learner data, we've got staffing information, financial and district school information. I'm not seeing attendance specifically. So kind of a good rule of thumb, if the information is about like the whole group of students as a whole, I usually go to the students tab here, and then it gives me all sorts of reports about K-12 students. So we've got attendance right there. We also have the grad dropout rate. We've got retained in grade, so how many students were held back. There's enrollment count reports, where students are attending school outside of their home district, so the schools of choice. Mobility, so where students are moving to and from in Michigan districts and schools. And we've got some additional data files. We'll talk about those in just a minute. So if I go to attendance, notice how Macomb ISD is already populated for me. We have what's called sticky settings. So if you're looking at a specific school or location and you flip from report to report, those will generally stay with you. So you won't have to go and find those over and over and over again. So that's kind of a cool feature that makes it a little more convenient to do your searching. So we've got Macomb ISD already in here. We've got school year 22-23 because I had chosen that before, but we have 23-24 available too. So we can go ahead and look at that. And this one has these report categories. We've got all students, we've got by grade, we can look at race, ethnicity, just a whole list of different demographics that you can break down your student group into to see, how their attendance is. So if we're looking by grade and I update my report, it's going to give me a breakdown of the chronically absent and not chronically absent and all by every grade in K-12. And there's a lot of bars here. And sometimes we can get a lot of information on a report and it makes it kind of hard to see what I'm looking at. You can also click on the legend down here to kind of gray out what you may not be looking at. So if I'm just looking at chronically absent, I can gray out the rest of them and it kind of highlights what information I'm looking at. And then I can reset it if I need to with this little reset graph button down here. And so this one also has our trend. And we can do the same thing here as we did before. So if I just want to look at kindergarten, I can go ahead and gray out what I'm not looking at. If I want to look at kindergarten and 12, I can do that. And then it'll narrow it down and make it a little easier to see which lines you are looking at. Okay. Also, we have this share button up here. I'm not going to click it because sometimes it takes a few minutes for it to come up. But if you have a report that you've got all the settings perfectly how you want it, and you want to go ahead and send that to somebody else to take a look at, like, hey, look at how our attendance has changed over time. You can click this share button and it will generate a link that has those report settings already set up for you so that you can send that to somebody else or put it in a newsletter or that sort of thing so that they don't have to recreate the report to see what you're seeing. Okay, so now what if I want to download this information? We have a couple different options for you. If you look right here, we've got our download print button. And if I click that, it brings this box up. And there are 4 different options here. You can download as a PDF, and that's going to be your option if you want this graph to be able to put into a slideshow to show your school or your school district, or if you just want to be able to see that visual, you would download it as a PDF, and then it will take your current report settings with those graphs and those data tables, and it will put it into a PDF for you, and you can save that and download it. as a .csv is going to take those current report settings and put them into a CSV format. So if you use Excel, it'll, it can put it into an Excel table for you, or you can put it into Google Sheets, whatever spreadsheet software that you have. If I click download all data for the selected location, it'll take your current report settings and then give you a CSV of all the years available for that. So kind of narrows it down, and you can have it over time, and it'll be in that, Excel format or whatever that you can use to create your own visualizations or just have that data table. The school data file over here will give you kind of the most information. So that's going to give you a file with all the available data. So all of those different demographics and report settings for the selected school year. So you can only get it 1 year at a time. It'll be for the year you've selected. So I selected 23-24. I could put my email address in there and then request school data file. And then you'll be emailed that data file. So if you wanted all the information for, for the year that you've selected for this report, that would be the way to go. And then you can filter in a spreadsheet or, create your own visualizations, that sort of thing. And kind of along that note, we also have downloadable data files kind of sprinkled everywhere. If we come back up here to K-12 grade and students, we have what's called additional data files. And if I click on that, it's going to bring me to this screen. And we have different tabs up here for different student groups. You can get special education enrollment, information about homeless populations, economically disadvantaged counts, and then it gives you all sorts of data files. These are Excel files for years going way back. Like this one goes all the way back to 95, 96. So you can get that information in the file format that's available. We have information about historical state testing. So if you're curious about the MEP or MME scores from, back in the day, we can go to state testing and additional data files, and it gives you some historical assessment data. So this one the MEP data goes back to 2009-10. The MME goes back to 2007. We have quite a few years of data available for quite a few metrics. If I were looking for some special education information in our special education tab, we've got an additional data files that gives you special education counts and some more information about that student group. We have information about staffing. So if I go to the staffing in our K-12, there's also an additional data files, and it gives you those FTE, that FTE information from our rep system. We've got some for district and financial data. I go to our K-12, financial and district and school information. It gives information about school expulsion numbers and safety, even down to EpiPen use. There's just all sorts of information in these data files. And then we have the K-12 data files. This one, if you remember back to when we had the download screen up and I did the school data file where I put my email information in, and then it would send me that report. We have a spot on the portal that you can just go to get those school data files. So if you know what you want and you don't want to bring the report up and put the information in, you just know that you want that school data file, you can click on this K-12 school data files and then choose which school data file you want to be sent, and it will send it to you. And then we also have post-secondary data files in our college data files, which is kind of in the same format as that K-12 school data file. excuse me, table. But you can put a college or university in there and then choose which report you want and put your email in there and it will email to you. So this is kind of my first like little break in our live demo. Are there any questions we've gotten in about the basic navigation, Wendy? Or we're good to go?
I was just checking. We don't have any questions in the Q&A. And I'm assuming the answer to this is no, because I haven't seen it myself. But I was, as you were I was thinking in my head about that, students moving from high school to college and being able to track that. But then it would be really interesting for us to be able to have, and we pull this data in schools, but to have it in one place would be interesting. What happens when our kids move from middle school to high school or elementary to middle school, in terms of that on track to graduate piece. That would be, an interesting, thing to add. And I'm not sure like how that would work, but I know it's something that we would always share with our middle schools, because I think sometimes like once kids leave your building, like you're just like, okay, well, I did my job and they've moved on to the next level, but you're not thinking about how did they perform at the next level. And I know that high schools, a lot of boards of education are holding their high schools accountable for student success at post-secondary. And I think that might be an interesting thing to make sure that, middle school teachers have the opportunity to see how their students are performing in high school and even from elementary to middle school. I think that would be helpful and probably something not a lot of people really track.
Yeah, that would be definitely something that would be interesting. I do know we have some on track. I'm trying to remember where that was. But like as far as like being like at-risk students, and I believe this is just for the high school. Is this just high school data? Cheryl, this is not my area of expertise.
Yes, yes, the at-risk is
It's just
for the
it's for high
K-12.
school. That's
Yes.
Okay for K-12. So we do have some at-risk information and some numbers on that. But yeah, that would be very interesting to be able to see that that progression.
And that's very specific to grade 3 ELA, grade 8 math, and grade 1, and then college readiness. Those are the three metrics that report shows.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Were there any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right, so now I've kind of showed you some basic navigation. I wanted to show you some specific tools that we have available. The first one that I wanted to show you is the compare tool. And we have a section called dashboards and education focus areas. So these are reports that may have like many different metrics on them, or the ability to pull in information from multiple data sets. We have the compare tool right here. So if I bring this up, this one's going to look a little different from the reports that I've shown you so far, but it all works pretty similarly. This one you can select up to 20 locations across Michigan to compare on a variety of topics. So not just like one focus of assessment or one focus of attendance. It kind of brings in multiple things that you can look at together. So we've got our location settings up here. Right now it's set to statewide, but you can also go in here and look at different ISDs. If you choose an ISD, it's going to try to pull in all of that information. So if I just wanted to look at part of it, I can hit this down arrow and I can look at ISD level only, or I can look at different districts. And if I wanted to go further, I could even hit the down arrow and go down to the building level within there. And then I can choose multiple of those to compare side by side. So if I just choose a couple different ones, there we go. My internet connection might be being a diva for a minute. All right, so I've chosen 4 and it tells me I have multiple selections. And this report doesn't have like an update report button like you have to hit on the other ones. This kind of does it as you choose your different metrics. So I've got multiple selections. I've got my school year here, so I can go and choose a different school year if I wanted to. And then we've got different metrics. So I can do student counts. There is a very long list of different metrics that you could look at. So if I wanted to do a, teacher count, I could select that. And then I could select a subgroup within there. So if I wanted to look at, the number of, female teachers that are in that, in those buildings, I could do that. And then it's going to show me a count of what I have chosen up here. So we've got a snapshot, just like we have in our other reports. We can also look at the trend view. So it'll give you quite a wide view of what the trend in those metrics that I've chosen are. And then if I go down here, we've got our table that's going to show our numerical version of what we have up top. And then I can change some metrics down here. And this is going to give me some of that building information to compare across those different locations that I've chosen. So it's giving me student attendance. It's giving me mobility. There's our staffing counts right there, some student characteristics. And we have 3 different tabs up here, or buttons up here that we can kind of toggle. This one's going to be our student and staff information. We've got assessment data here that's going to break it down by grade and different areas of focus. You'll notice that this is suppressed data, so it's not going to give me data for student groups that are less than 10 here. And then it's also got parent dashboard metrics. So one thing I want to want to mention about the parent dashboard metrics table is that you need to be down at that building level to be able to see data for that. So if you're at the ISD level, our parent dashboard doesn't aggregate data to that level. It's more at the more specific level. All right, so if I want to download on this report, I don't have one of those download buttons like I did in my other reports that I showed you, but if I hover over any of the visualizations or the tables, I get these little symbols that come up here. And I have this little 3 dots. It's going to give me more options, and I can hit export data. I'm not sure why it's all highlighted. There we go. And this one has the summarized data available. And if I can choose my file format that I want it to go into, and then I can hit export, and then it will start that download where you can, download from your browser, and it'll open it up for you. Okay, do we have questions about the compare tool before I move on?
We do have one. Is there any way to look at 2 or more races and identify if one of the races is African American? So I know that if a school had a goal of looking at specifically tracking their African American male success, but if students are identifying as more than one race, so like African American and Asian, that is making that data hard to track because
Okay. Yeah, it's all about how it's reported in those applications. So if a student is reported as two or more races, they will be counted in with that student subgroup. Cheryl, did you have something? I saw you came off of mute. Did you have something to add to that?
Oh, no, I was just going to mention the two or more if you didn't, and you did, so you're all good.
Yep. All right. Okay. The next one I want to show you is our report builder. And this is a brand new tool. Like we just rolled it out within the last month, I think it was. And this is a very powerful tool. That's also over here in the dashboards and education focus areas underneath our compare tool. If we go to report builder, it'll bring it up for us. All right. In Report Builder, we have some pre-made explorations of different content areas. So if you want to look at what we already have available, you can bring that up. All the report settings are already in there, and it'll bring up that table with those report settings. So if you want to look at the districts with the highest graduation rates or schools with the highest teacher retention rates, you can just click on those and it'll bring it right up for you. If you want to play around with it, this is what makes us data nerds like happy. This is fun. You get to play around with the different settings. You can explore different student groups. So we have early childhood, we've got K-12 and post-secondary. So if I go to explore K-12, this has no limits on the number of locations that you can have. Also with the report category. So those demographics, you don't have to just look at one at a time. You can look at multiple. This is going to show you in a table format. There is not a visualization for this, but you can download this data just like you could in the other reports and put it into a spreadsheet or put it into your own visualizations. So for this one, if I wanted to look at multiple locations, we'll change it to 21, 22. If I wanted to look at districts, like let's say I wanted to look at the kind of Lansing area and surrounding districts, I could take statewide off if I don't want to look at the whole statewide data. If I just want to look at those districts, I can set this entity type. And then if I go to location, it's going to give me the ISDs, but then you can choose different districts in it. I think I'm going to do, let's see, let's do Clinton, Eaton, Ingham, and we'll throw Shiawassee in there as well. So now I'm looking at different ISDs, but it's giving me different districts within those ISDs in my list. Then I can go to my report category. This gives by race, ethnicity, gender, those general subgroups that we have available, but you can look at them all by selecting, race, ethnicity, or you can just look at specific populations. So you can check whichever ones that you want to see and it will put it into this table. So we're going to keep it at all for right now. And then we've also got some metrics in here. So you can look by entity information. You can put that data into there. You can put in some counts about student, demographics. If I want to do student count, and let's say I wanted to just look at 9th through 12th grade. And if you kind of look, you can kind of see this adjusting as I'm clicking this because it's adjusting the data table as I choose. And I can look at staffing information And maybe I want to look at the total staff. Let's say I want to do a count of the teachers. I can do a count of, let's see, parapros and aides. And then I can come down here and my table's already made. It's giving me all of my districts for all the locations that I've chosen, those in those ISDs. It's giving me school year, what my report category is. It's giving me a student count for all grades because I had selected that. It gives me 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. This one has attendance rate. I didn't uncheck some of the things that were already checked in there. So if I didn't want to see those, all I would have to do is get in that list and uncheck it. And it's giving me all sorts of different counts and percentages and basically anything I want to see all in one data table. Another really cool thing is that you can filter this even further. So let's say I wanted to see just those different districts with like a really high attendance rate. So I can come into this filter pane here and I can go to my attendance rate. That's chronically absent. If I want to do not chronically absent, I can just filter that to where the attendance rate is above 95%. And then it will just filter for the schools. Even if I don't have that metric in my table, it can filter for those schools. So it narrows it, narrows it way down if I want it to. And then you can also see here, one numerical filter is applied. So if you forget what filter, because this is a long list, it's easy to get kind of lost in there. If you forget what you filtered and you click on this, it's going to show you what your filter is and bring that filter pane back up. And if I close that, this is also similar to the compare tool in that if you want to download, you can hover over here over your table and go to more options and you can export your data just like we did before. Are there any questions about Report Builder?
Yes, we've got a couple. Is there
Okay.
any way to subscribe to certain reports so that reports can be delivered yearly via email? I'm thinking building leadership teams could use specific reports as they plan for the school year.
Unfortunately, there is not. I'm not sure if it's in the works for like ideas for future build outs, but that would be a great idea to hold on to for the future. So yeah, unfortunately, there are not.
So one of our participants says, I cannot figure out how to get to specific schools. Can you review? My report is only pulling up ISD.
Okay, so if I want a specific school, I can come up here to entity type and click on school. And then if I want to find, or I can also, this one I can type into. Okay, so if I go to location, I can also just type in this little search bar and type for my school and it will bring that up. You could also go into the kind of the longer way is to go into your ISD and then find your school district. And then if you click on that, all your schools will be listed in there. So there's a couple different ways to do it.
So we had another question about, with so much data available, is there an AI tool built in to help summarize and aggregate? So that might be a future thing, Nick, right? I mean, every time I turn around, if I open a different website, some type of AI tool pops up. So maybe we could let Director Howell know that that's something that people are asking for.
Yeah, AI is definitely obviously something that we're going to have to move towards. we're also probably going to have to follow the direction of the state of Michigan, so we won't be able to go off and do our own AI, future ourselves. But that's definitely something that will be coming. I know we've already had conversations on the portal team in regards to the search functionality, because AI is pretty well developed for that. So that might be something you might see first in the AI world on MiSchoolData, but I think additions to that will probably take a bit longer.
I think another thing principals have been doing is, uploading their data into sheets or, Excel or something, taking out the student names, whatever the data might be, and then put it into like ChatGPT and ask it to, summarize trends and things like that. So that there's another way to do that, without it being built in.
Okay.
All right. I do see we only have 3 minutes left, and I do want to show you the report catalog. So did we have any other burning questions? All right. All right. So our report catalog, if you're overwhelmed by the number of, reports that are on here and just not sure what we have, you can come up here to the support button and hit our report catalog, and it brings up a file of our report catalog. So we have a clickable table of contents that's going to show you exactly what subject it is and everything that you can, all the reports that you can go to. And if you click on one of those reports, it'll take you to that section in the document and show you what the report is, when it's updated, the demographics that are available in it, the years that we have available, and if you need secure permission or to view the data that's there. So that's really useful. You can do a control find and just figure out everything, type in the word that you want to find, and you can, go through that document and look for the different reports that we have. This is updated frequently. It was last updated on October 10th of this year. So every time we get a new report or something changes, we make sure to go and update this. So this is up to date quite a bit. And this is also our report calendar. So if you click on that, you'll see what month we're on, everything that's been updated, all those reports, the date that it was updated, and whether it's in preview or it's public. Certain secure users have access to data before it goes public, and then it will show that it's in preview like this. So that means that the public doesn't have access to it yet, but those secure users do. And then when it goes public, we also have the date that it's public. A way that you can figure out when something has been updated in the past to kind of get a good idea of when it might be updated in, currently. I use that Control F and look for my report, and then it'll show you when that was last updated, because we have a couple years on here of the dates of when everything was updated. We also have the coming soon section in this button up here. So these are the types of reports that you can expect to see. We're currently working on, and they'll be coming out soon. All right, we are at 10. And I don't want to keep you any longer. So I do have resources in the slide deck with some links. And also, if you are having issues or don't understand something, if you're having issues with the portal in any way, you can contact our customer support on our website. That's also in that kind of help section that I showed you. So I don't know if we have time for any additional questions.
Would you mind just showing one report real quick of that, how they can find students who have left the district?
Oh, like the mobility?
Yeah, that I
Yeah.
know is like is a big one. So, you know, if I'm the principal at Jennison High School and I want to know how many you know, students are no longer at my building, they've gone to other districts, where do they look for that?
Okay, so if we give our K-12 and our students, we have a student mobility report. And so you can see we've got my sticky settings. So it's kept my my settings from what I had before. And it'll show you the counts of how many are leaving, how many are staying. And you can break that down by um, grade, by race, ethnicity, all students. Trying to remember, we've got counts.
And it tells us where they went, right?
It,
Because this would be better if you did it by school rather than ISD, because that's,
yeah, probably. Let's go a little further down here. Let's see what we have by district. It's just still giving us a count. We also have schools of choice and other non-resident enrollments report. All right, I'm drawing a blank. Cheryl, do you have a recommendation? I'm trying to remember.
Cheryl had to jump off for a different meeting.
Oh, she had to jump off? Okay.
yeah. And if I understand, I kind of put you on the spot asking for that. I just know that's one that people would be interested in. So if
There we go. I
okay.
found it. Okay. Sorry, so we have so much
I know
data
you do. You do.
to keep track of what we have without looking around, but that's
Right.
kind of how, you have to figure it
Mhm.
out. So we have, Chippewa Valley Schools, we have our student counts of number of non-resident students enrolled and resident students enrolled elsewhere. So it doesn't really tell you. It kind of gives you a little bit more information about where those students are enrolled.
That's great. I think that was one that I saw when I was going through this with the team that I thought, would be really helpful because I know that, declining enrollment's always, a concern and something that people are looking at. So I appreciate you taking an extra minute to show us that as well.
Yeah, no problem.
So thanks for all the resources. The My School Data Report Catalog is something I just learned from you, and I grabbed that. Nick dropped it in the chat for us, so I'll make sure that I send the link to that to everybody that gets the recording of this webinar as well. I really appreciate your time, and I would like to reserve the right to recall you, Mandy, to come back and do other things and, keep us in mind, when those new reports come about and, we'd love to keep principals up to date on what reports are available. I think that report builder piece is really a great one. And I do think it would be helpful at some point, at future MASSP events to have you, present to be able to have, people sitting with you live, and being able to move along with you and ask questions and look at those reports alongside you. So thanks so much for all the work that you guys are doing at CEPI. I think when I think about from my time as a principal until where we are now, it's pretty amazing the work that you've done and the functionality of these reports, just the different ways that you can show it and query it by year and by all the different variables. It really is a great tool. And just, something that, as you mentioned, people have to go in and play with and to be able to, see all those things for themselves. So I want to thank you for your time and for putting this together for us. Everyone that's on the webinar today, a reminder that we will be sending you the slide deck. We'll also be sending you a recording of this. And really appreciate Ryan Casey co-hosting with me today. We'll be getting you that information ASAP. We hope everyone has an awesome rest of your week. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks.